There is no question that Naoya Inoue has earned his reputation as one of boxing's most celebrated figures. The Japanese star, known as the Monster, has carved out a legacy rooted in precision, power, and an aura of invincibility that follows him into every ring he enters. But standing on the opposite end of that spectrum is a figure with a very different brand of chaos. A man whose aura is carved not from calculated destruction, but from pure, unfiltered violence. That man is John Riel Casimero, and he might just be the wild card in Inoue's otherwise ordered universe. Casemiro isn't just a fighter. He's a disruptor. A menace wrapped in muscle and fury, and a man whose fights rarely resemble a boxing match as much as they do a brawl. His approach to boxing is raw, visceral, and unflinchingly aggressive. While Inoue is praised for his surgical dismantling of opponents, Casemiro is known for storming through them like a battering ram. He doesn't aim to outpoint you, he aims to break you. And if a day comes when these two stand across from each other, it won't be a clash of styles. It will be a collision of worlds. Inoue may be the monster, but Casemiro has his own monstrous traits. He carries with him a wild energy, unpredictable in its movement and explosive in its release. He doesn't ask for respect, he demands it. And he doesn't wait for the opening. He creates it with sheer volume and intent. Some call him reckless. Others call him dangerous. Either way, he's not a man to be taken lightly. For years, Casemiro has walked the line between brilliance and chaos. He's not the kind of boxer who dances around the ring or waits patiently for the right moment. His strategy is built on pressure, on overwhelming force, on drawing his opponent into a war and thriving in the carnage. When he fights, it feels like a storm is coming. And there's no running from it. One of the defining traits of Casemiro's style is his relentless pace. He doesn't simply move forward, he charges. And when his fists start flying, there's very little his opponents can do to stop the barrage. He doesn't just target the head or the body. He targets your will. Every punch is a test of heart. And once he smells blood, he doesn't back off, he goes for the finish. This unrelenting approach was on full display in his brutal battle against Philippus and Inoue. From the opening bell, Casemiro made his intentions clear. He wasn't there to box. He was there to hurt. And Inoue, brave as he was, made the mistake of meeting that storm head-on. The result was a chaotic and violent encounter, one where neither man gave an inch and the margins between success and failure were razor-thin. It wasn't long before Casemiro began to find his rhythm, landing thudding shots to the body that slowly started to sap his opponent's energy. These were not the kind of punches that make highlight reels, but they were the kind that changed the course of a fight. Steadily, methodically, he was draining his opponent. And though Inoue responded in kind, throwing bombs of his own and proving he wouldn't be cowed by reputation alone, the pressure was beginning to mount. Casemiro thrives in this kind of environment. When fights get ugly, when technique starts to fade and it becomes a matter of who wants it more, that's when he's at his best. He drags his opponents into deep waters and dares them to swim. And for all of Inoue's heart and grit, it was clear that the tide was turning. By the midpoint of the fight, both men had taken their share of punishment. It was a slugfest in every sense of the word, a battle not just of fists, but of spirits. But then came the moment that shifted everything. Out of nowhere, Casemiro unleashed a devastating punch that sent Inoue crashing to the canvas. It was a turning point. A reminder that, behind all the chaos, Casemiro carries serious firepower. To his credit, Inoue rose and kept fighting. He refused to be broken. But something had changed. Casemiro had tasted vulnerability, and that only fed his hunger. From that moment on, he fought with renewed vigor, pressing forward with the kind of confidence that only comes from hurting a man and knowing you can do it again. Yet, as wild as he may seem, there is calculation behind Casemiro's madness. He knows when to push and when to pull back. He knows how to take a breather without giving away momentum. And in the latter rounds, he did exactly that, conserving energy before unleashing flurries of violence that kept his opponent guessing. In the dying moments of the 8th round, he once again found a home for his right hand, nearly sending Inoue back to the canvas just as the bell rang. There was no animosity in that ring, only raw competitive spirit. But it looked like hatred. That's how intense it was. Both men were locked in a struggle that went beyond technique, beyond training. It was about pride. About who would be left standing. And though Inoue fought with everything he had, it was Casemiro who ultimately walked away with the victory, having imposed his will in a contest of equals. And then came the clash with Saul Sanchez, a fight that many believed would test Casemiro's resolve once more. Sanchez, with his own solid record and a reputation for durability, was expected to bring the fight to Casemiro. But he walked into a buzzsaw. From the opening bell, Casemiro hunted him. It wasn't about feeling him out or adjusting to his rhythm. It was about breaking him. And Casemiro nearly did just that in the first minute. A sudden surge of offense left Sanchez on shaky legs, and it was clear that the tone for the fight had been set. Casemiro wasn't there to box. He was there to finish. Sanchez, to his credit, showed tremendous heart. After the early knockdown scare, he did what he could to steady himself and re-enter the fight. But Casemiro doesn't allow for comfort. He lures you in. He lets you think you're finding your rhythm. And then he pounces. That's exactly what happened. Sanchez found a brief moment of calm, began to work his way back into the contest. And then, just like that, Casemiro struck. A monstrous punch landed clean, sending Sanchez to the canvas in a heap. It was brutal. It was clinical. It was Casemiro. Though Sanchez rose, the fight had already shifted into survival mode for him. Casemiro smelled weakness, and once again, he showed no mercy. He swarmed, he hammered, he brutalized. The referee, seeing what everyone else could, wisely stepped in. It wasn't just about protecting Sanchez's record. It was about protecting his well-being. This wasn't just a win for Casemiro. It was a statement, a signal to the rest of the division that the storm hasn't passed, that the chaos is still coming, and that anyone who thinks they can stand in front of John Riel Casemiro and box their way to safety is sorely mistaken. Oh, what does this mean for a potential matchup with Naoya Inoue? Is Casemiro a true threat to the monster's reign? That depends on what you value most in a fighter. Inoue has the edge in precision, in discipline, in technique. But Casemiro brings unpredictability. He brings danger. He brings a level of violence that can't always be solved by a jab or neutralized by footwork. Inoue has faced power before. He's faced speed. But has he faced chaos? Has he stood across the ring from a man who fights like a storm with fists? Because that's what Casemiro is. He's not just another contender. He's an unchained force. And while Inoue may be the monster, Casemiro is the one who hunts monsters. If this fight ever happens, it won't be about belts. It won't be about rankings. It will be about pride. About whose approach to violence reigns supreme. The cold, calculated power of Inoue, or the raging wildfire that is Casemiro. Time will tell whether these two will finally collide. But make no mistake, if they do, it won't be a boxing match. It will be a war. And when the dust settles, only one man will be left standing.